I thought I'd found my slice of paradise in Thailand. Cheap beer, warm weather, and a girl who made me feel 20 years younger. But paradise has a price. And sometimes that price comes knocking at your door at 3 a.m, speaking broken English and holding a knife. I learned that love doesn't just cost money, it costs everything you thought you knew about yourself. And when her brother showed up with his demands, I realized I wasn't living a dream. I was living someone else's nightmare, and I was too stupid to see it coming. That's the line that hit us hardest when we first read this story. It came in quietly. By email. From one of our longtime viewers. He didn't want his name shared, but he said if even one other man hears this and avoids what happened to him, then maybe it was all worth the pain. It's not easy to open up like this, especially when the shame still lingers years later. So if anything in his story stirs something in you, if you've ever loved blindly or trusted too quickly, let him know in the comments that he's not alone. These are the kinds of stories we only learn from when they're shared honestly, without sugarcoating. And look, if you want to help us keep telling these kinds of raw, real experiences, the ones most people are too embarrassed to admit, feel free to tap that super thanks button. It genuinely helps us keep going and shows that this kind of honesty matters. Because the truth is, stories like this aren't rare. They're just rarely told. And the more we hear them, the more we start to see through the illusion. I stepped off the plane in Chiang Mai 6 months ago carrying 2 suitcases and a heart full of hope. My divorce had been finalized 3 weeks earlier, and I'd taken early retirement from my corporate training job in Virginia. 23 years of teaching executives how to manage their teams, and I couldn't even manage my own marriage. The settlement left me with enough to start over somewhere new, somewhere cheap, somewhere I could forget about performance reviews and mortgage payments and the sound of my ex-wife's voice cutting through our kitchen every morning like a rusty blade. Thailand seemed like the answer to everything. I'd read the expat blogs, watched the YouTube videos, heard about the paradise waiting for guys like me. Divorced? Middle-aged? Tired of the rat race? Ready to trade suburban Virginia for tropical sunsets and dollar beers. The house I rented was nothing special, a small concrete box in a quiet neighborhood, but it had everything I needed. A bed, a fan, a kitchen barely big enough for one person, and most importantly, silence. No neighbors arguing through paper-thin walls, no traffic from the interstate, no reminders of the life I'd left behind. My daily routine was simple, almost meditative. I'd wake up around 7, make coffee on my single burner, sit on the small concrete porch, and watch the neighborhood come alive. Thai families heading to work, kids in school uniforms walking past my gate, street vendors setting up their carts for the day. Nobody bothered me, nobody asked questions, nobody cared that I was just another failed American trying to reinvent himself in Southeast Asia. I'd spend my mornings walking through the old city, exploring temples, getting lost in the maze of narrow streets. The afternoon heat would drive me home for a nap, and then I'd venture out again as the sun started to set. That's when I'd hit the bars. Nothing fancy, just the local spots where beer was cheap, and the other expats were friendly enough to nod hello, but smart enough not to ask too many questions about what brought you to Thailand. "You new here?" asked a British guy named Derek one evening at a bar called The Stumble Inn. He was maybe 50, weathered face, the kind of tan that comes from years of tropical sun rather than vacation time. 6 weeks, I said, taking a sip of my Chang beer. Still figuring things out. Smart man. Take your time. This place has a way of revealing itself slowly. You rush it. You'll miss the good stuff and get caught up in the bullshit. I didn't know what he meant then, but I nodded anyway. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the street life pass by. Motorbikes weaving through traffic, food vendors calling out to customers, the constant hum of a city that never quite sleeps but never feels frantic either. For the first time in months, I felt my shoulders relax, the knot in my stomach that had been there since the divorce started to loosen. "What brought you here?" Derek asked after ordering another round. "Divorce," I said simply. "Needed a change." He nodded knowingly. Classic. Thailand's full of us divorce refugees. Just remember, Whatever you're running from, it's still in here. He tapped his temple. Geography doesn't fix psychology, mate. I laughed, but there was something in his tone that made me pay attention. You sound like you learned that the hard way. We all do, eventually. Some faster than others. That night, walking back to my house through the quiet streets, I heard something that stopped me in my tracks. Music. Live music, acoustic guitar, and a voice that was pure silk, floating through the warm night air. I followed the sound to a small café I'd passed a dozen times but never entered. Through the open windows, I could see a young woman on a small stage, just her and a guitar, singing what sounded like a Thai version of Blackbird by the Beatles. I stood there on the sidewalk listening, and for the first time since arriving in Thailand, I felt something stir in my chest that wasn't just relief or escape. It was something warmer, more dangerous. Hope, maybe. Or longing. The kind of feeling that should have sent me running back to my empty house. But instead, I found myself walking through the cafe's front door. The place was small. Maybe 15 tables. Half full of locals. And a few other foreigners. The lighting was dim, candles on each table, the smell of Thai food mixing with cigarette smoke, and the faint scent of jasmine from somewhere I couldn't identify. I found a table in the back, ordered a beer, and tried to act like I wasn't staring at the woman on stage. She was beautiful in that effortless way that made my divorced middle-aged heart skip beats. Long black hair that caught the stage lights, delicate features, and when she smiled between songs, it was like watching the sun come up. She couldn't have been more than 25. Probably younger, wearing a simple white dress that looked like it cost less than my dinner, but somehow made her look like she belonged in a much fancier place. She's good, isn't she? The waitress had appeared at my table, a middle-aged Thai woman with kind eyes and decent English. Very good, I said, trying to keep my voice casual. She performs here often? Every Tuesday and Thursday. Her name is Pria. She's trying to save money for music school in Bangkok. I nodded, taking a long pull from my beer. The smart thing would be to finish my drink and leave. Go back to my quiet house. My simple routine. My safe exile from complications. But as Pria started another song, this one in Thai, her voice rising and falling like water over stones, I knew I wasn't going anywhere. She performed for another hour, a mix of Thai songs and English covers that she delivered with a confidence that seemed to come from somewhere deeper than just musical skill. When she finally set down her guitar and stepped off the small stage, I found myself standing up before I'd made a conscious decision to do so. "Excuse me," I said as she walked past my table. "That was incredible." She stopped, turned, and smiled. Up close, she was even more beautiful, but there was something else in her eyes, a wariness that I recognized from my own mirror. "Thank you," she said in accented but clear English. "You are American?" "Guilty as charged. I'm Mitchell." "Pria, nice to meet you." She extended her hand, and when I shook it, her skin was soft and warm. "You live here in Chiang Mai?" "About 6 weeks now. I heard you from the street. Had to come in and see who was making that beautiful music." She laughed, and the sound was like the music itself, pure and unforced. "You are very kind. Would you like to buy me a drink? I am finished for the night." And that's how it started. One drink turned into 2, then 3. We talked about music, about her dreams of studying in Bangkok, about my life in America. She was curious about everything, what Virginia was like, what my job had been, why I'd come to Thailand. I found myself telling her things I hadn't told anyone, about the divorce, about feeling lost, about hoping to find something in Thailand that I'd never found back home. "It must be hard," she said, reaching across the table to touch my hand. "Starting over at our age is not easy." "Your age?" I laughed. "You're practically a child." "I am 23. In Thailand, that is old enough to know heartbreak." There was something in her voice that made me look at her more carefully. Behind the smile, I could see the shadows that life had already cast. What kind of heartbreak? I asked gently. She was quiet for a moment, then said, My father died 2 years ago. Heart attack. He was only 45. Now I take care of my mother. She is very sick. That is why I sing. To pay for her medicine, for doctors. Music school is just a dream. Family comes first. The way she said it, with such quiet acceptance, broke something in my chest. Here was this beautiful, talented young woman sacrificing her dreams to take care of her family, while I was running away from mine. I said, That's a lot of responsibility. Is okay, is life. She shrugged, but I could see the weight of it in her shoulders. What about you? Children? Number my ex-wife and I tried for years, but I trailed off. It was still too raw, too complicated to explain to a stranger, even one with eyes as kind as hers. Maybe is better. Children need father who is present, not always working. The observation stung because it was probably true. Even if Janet and I had managed to have kids, I would have been the kind of father who was always at the office, always chasing the next promotion, always putting work before family. Maybe the divorce had saved some hypothetical children from having me as a father. You are thinking too much, Pria said, studying my face. In Thailand, we say thinking too much makes old man older. Better to live in moment. Easier said than done. Yes, but still true. She glanced at her watch. An old thing with a leather band that looked like it had seen better days. I should go. Early day tomorrow. Of course. Thank you for the drink. And the company. She stood up, gathering her guitar case. You will come back Thursday? I perform again. I'd like that. Good. Maybe you bring me luck. Tonight felt different. Better. As she walked away, I sat there finishing my beer and trying to process what had just happened. I'd come to Thailand to escape, to find peace, to avoid exactly this kind of complication. But as I watched Pria disappear into the night, I already knew I'd be back on Thursday, and probably every Tuesday and Thursday after that. Walking home through the quiet streets, I could still hear her voice in my head, still feel the warmth of her hand when she'd touched mine. Derek's warning echoed too. Whatever you're running from, it's still in here. But for the first time in months, I wasn't thinking about what I was running from. I was thinking about what I might be running toward. Thursday couldn't come fast enough. I spent the intervening days trying to talk myself out of going back to the café, telling myself I was being ridiculous, that I was setting myself up for disappointment or worse. But when Thursday evening rolled around, I found myself walking through those familiar streets, drawn by the same acoustic guitar and silk voice that had stopped me in my tracks 3 nights earlier. This time, I arrived early and claimed a table closer to the stage. The cafe was busier on Thursday nights, more locals, more of what looked like regular customers who knew the songs and hummed along. I ordered food this time, pad thai and another chang beer, and tried to look like I belonged there. When Pria took the stage, she scanned the room until her eyes found mine. She smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes, and nodded slightly. Then she started to sing, and I swear she was singing directly to me. Not in an obvious way, but in the way performers connect with someone in the audience, using them as an anchor point for their performance. She opened with, "The way you look tonight," and I felt my cheeks flush. Coincidence, I told myself. Just coincidence. But when she followed it with, "Fly me to the moon," I started to wonder if maybe, just maybe, she was trying to tell me something. After her set, she came straight to my table without being asked. "You came back," she said, settling into the chair across from me. I said I would. Many men say many things. Few do what they say. I'm not many men. No? She tilted her head, studying me. What kind of man are you, Mitchell? It was a simple question, but it felt loaded with meaning. What kind of man was I? A failed husband, a mediocre employee, a middle-aged expat running from his problems. Or maybe something else, something better than I'd been in Virginia. I'm still figuring that out, I said finally. Good answer. Honest answer. She signaled the waitress for a drink. You want to know what kind of man I think you are? I'm not sure I'm ready for that. You are kind man, lonely man, hurt man, but also careful man. You are not here to play games or make promises you cannot keep. How can you tell all that from 2 conversations? I am good at reading people, is survival skill in Thailand. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. You want to know secret? I nodded. You are not only lonely one. I am lonely too. Is different lonely. You are lonely for what you lost. I am lonely for what I never had. But lonely is lonely. The honesty in her voice was like a physical punch. I'd spent so much time thinking about my own pain, my own loss, that I'd forgotten other people were fighting their own battles. What is it you never had? Security, freedom to choose. Time to be young and stupid and make mistakes. She gestured around the café. I work here 3 nights a week, clean houses 2 days a week, take care of my mother every day. When do I get to be 23? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. You didn't do anything wrong. I am just telling you truth. In Thailand, we don't have luxury of midlife crisis. We have life crisis from beginning to end. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of her words settling between us. Then she reached across the table and took my hand, just like she had 3 nights earlier. But maybe we can be lonely together sometimes. Is better than being lonely alone. I'd like that, I said, and meant it more than I'd meant anything in months. Good. Tomorrow is Friday. You want to have dinner? Real dinner, not bar food. I cook for you. You don't have to. I want to. Is my day off from cleaning houses? I cook. You bring wine. We see if we can be less lonely for few hours. I should have said no. Should have recognized the warning signs. The way she was moving things along faster than they should naturally progress. But I was lonely, and she was beautiful, and for the first time since my divorce, someone was looking at me like I was worth something. I'd love that, I said. She wrote her address on a napkin, her handwriting small and neat. 6 o'clock. And Mitchell? Yes? Don't think so much. Just come. I left the cafe that night with her address in my pocket, and a feeling in my chest I'd almost forgotten existed. It wasn't just attraction, though that was certainly part of it. It was possibility. The possibility that maybe, just maybe, I could find something in Thailand that I'd never found anywhere else. The next day dragged by. I tried to distract myself with my usual routine: morning walk, afternoon nap, evening at one of the expat bars, but I couldn't concentrate on anything. I kept thinking about Pria, about the way she'd looked at me, about the dinner we'd planned. At 5 o'clock, I showered, put on my best shirt, and walked to a wine shop near the old city. The shop owner, a friendly Thai man with excellent English, helped me pick out a bottle of red wine. Special occasion? He asked. Dinner. With a friend, I said. Ah? Thai? Lady friend? Yes, he smiled knowingly. Then you want this one. Thai ladies prefer sweeter wine. Is good choice for new relationship. New relationship? The word sent a thrill through me that I tried to suppress. It was just dinner, I reminded myself. Just 2 lonely people sharing a meal. But as I walked through the narrow streets toward her address, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was walking toward something that would change everything. Her neighborhood was different from mine, older, more traditional, with narrow houses pressed close together and clothes hanging from balconies. Kids played in the streets, their laughter mixing with the sound of motorbikes and the distant call of street vendors. It felt alive in a way my quiet expat enclave never did. I found her house easily enough, A narrow two-story building with a small garden in front and a motorbike parked by the gate. Before I could knock, the door opened, and there she was, wearing a simple sundress that made her look even younger than her 23 years. "You came," she said, smiling. "I said I would." "Yes, but saying and doing are different things. Come in." The house was small but comfortable, with traditional Thai furniture mixed with more modern pieces. The smell of cooking filled the air, something spicy and complex that made my mouth water. She led me to a small sitting area and gestured for me to sit on a low couch. "Wine?" she asked, taking the bottle I'd brought. "Please." She disappeared into the kitchen, returning with 2 glasses and the open bottle. As she poured, I looked around the room. There were photographs on the walls, family photos, including one of a man I assumed was her father. He looked serious but kind, wearing what looked like a work uniform. "My father," she said, noticing my gaze. "He worked in construction, very hard worker, very proud man. You look like him. I have his stubbornness. My mother says is blessing and curse." "Where is your mother now?" "Sleeping. She sleeps most of the day now. Medicine makes her very tired." There was sadness in her voice, but also acceptance. "Doctor says maybe 6 months. Maybe less. I'm sorry. Is okay. We have time to say goodbye. Is more than many people get." She handed me a glass of wine and sat beside me on the couch, close enough that I could smell her perfume, something light and floral that suited her perfectly. "Cheers," she said, raising her glass. "Cheers. To new friendships. To new possibilities," she corrected, and clinked her glass against mine. The wine was good, and the conversation flowed easily. She told me about growing up in Chiang Mai, about her father's death, about the weight of responsibility she'd inherited. I told her about my marriage, about the slow dissolution of something that had once been good, about the relief and terror of starting over at 48. "You miss her?" she asked. "Sometimes. Not the fighting or the coldness, but the idea of her. The person she was when we first met. That person is gone." "I think so. Or maybe she was never real to begin with. Maybe I just saw what I wanted to see." Pria nodded thoughtfully. "Is easy to love idea of person. Instead of real person. Ideas don't argue or have bad days or get sick or die. Is that what you think I'm doing with you?" She was quiet for a moment, then said, "I think you are lonely man who wants to believe in something good. I think I am lonely woman who wants to believe in something safe. Maybe that is enough for now. And later?" "Later. We see what happens. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. Maybe something in between." Dinner was incredible. Green curry with chicken, jasmine rice, and vegetables I couldn't identify but tasted like they'd been picked that morning. She'd cooked everything herself, and watching her move around the small kitchen with such confidence and grace made me realize how much I'd missed having someone care enough to cook for me. "This is amazing," I said between bites. "Is easy. Thai food is about balance. Sweet, sour, salty, spicy. Like life. What's the balance in your life?" She considered the question seriously. "Too much sour. Not enough sweet. Too much responsibility. Not enough freedom. Too much worry. Not enough joy. What would bring more joy? Music. Travel. Time to be young. And maybe." She trailed off, looking at me from across the small table. "Maybe what? Maybe someone to share it with. Someone who understands that life is short and should not be wasted on things that don't matter." The conversation was moving into dangerous territory, but I didn't want to stop it. "What matters to you?" "Family. Music. Kindness. Truth. Simple things." She reached across the table and took my hand. "You matter to me, Mitchell. I know it's fast, maybe too fast, but I feel safe with you." Is long time since I felt safe. Safe from what? From being alone. From having no one to talk to about real things. From pretending to be stronger than I am. Her honesty was devastating. I lifted her hand to my lips and kissed her knuckles gently. You don't have to pretend anything with me. Good, because I am tired of pretending. After dinner, we sat on her small balcony, sharing the last of the wine and watching the neighborhood settle into evening. Children were called in for baths. Motorbikes puttered home from work. The sound of televisions and conversation drifted from open windows. It felt domestic and peaceful in a way that my marriage never had. I should go, I said eventually, though I didn't want to. You should. She agreed, but she didn't move to get up. I don't want to. I know. I don't want you to go either. We sat in comfortable silence, her head on my shoulder, my arm around her waist. It felt natural, like we'd been doing it for years instead of hours. Finally, she pulled back and looked at me. Mitchell? Yes? Next week, I only work one night at café. Tuesday night is closed for repairs. You want to spend time together? Maybe I show you real Chiang Mai, not tourist places. I'd like that. Good. Is date then? Real date. I stood up, suddenly aware of how much I didn't want to leave. Thank you for dinner. And for everything. Thank you for wine, and for listening. She walked me to the door. And for a moment, we stood there looking at each other. I wanted to kiss her, but something held me back. Maybe it was the age difference. Maybe it was the newness of everything. Maybe it was just old-fashioned respect. Good night, Pria. Good night, Mitchell. I was halfway down the street when I heard her call my name. I turned back, and she was standing in her doorway, backlit by the warm light from her house. Mitchell, you forgot something. I walked back, confused. What did I forget? She stepped closer, rose up on her toes, and kissed me softly on the lips. It was brief, gentle, but it sent electricity through my entire body. You forgot to kiss me goodnight, she whispered. Then she was gone. The door closed behind her, leaving me standing in the street with my heart pounding and my head spinning. I walked home through the quiet streets, replaying every moment of the evening, every word she'd said, every look she'd given me. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering what the hell I was doing. I was 48, divorced, and probably developing feelings for a 23-year-old Thai woman who barely knew me. It was a recipe for disaster, the kind of situation that other expats whispered about in bars as cautionary tales. But as I drifted off to sleep, I wasn't thinking about the warnings or the risks. I was thinking about the way she'd looked at me across the dinner table, like I was someone worth knowing, like I was someone worth caring about. It had been so long since anyone had looked at me that way that I'd almost forgotten what it felt like. Tuesday couldn't come fast enough. Our first real date was everything I'd hoped for and more. Pria picked me up on her motorbike, a small Honda that looked like it had seen better days but ran like a dream. I'd never been on a motorbike before, and clinging to her waist as we wove through Chiang Mai traffic was terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. She took me to places I never would have found on my own. A temple hidden in the hills outside the city, a market where locals bought their groceries and tourists never ventured, a small restaurant where the menu was entirely in Thai and the food was incredible. We talked constantly, about everything and nothing, and I found myself laughing more than I had in months. You are different when you laugh, she told me over lunch. Different how? Younger, happier, more yourself. How do you know what myself is? I can see it. Under all the sadness and worry, there is man who knows how to enjoy life. I like that man. I like him too. I just forgot about him for a while. Why? Life, marriage, work, all the things that were supposed to make me happy but somehow didn't. She nodded thoughtfully. Maybe happiness is not thing you achieve. Maybe is thing you choose. Every day. Is that what you do? Choose to be happy? I try. Some days is harder than others, but I try. That afternoon, she took me to a small shop where an old man made traditional musical instruments. She was looking for new strings for her guitar, and I watched her examine each one carefully, testing the tension and sound quality with an expertise I hadn't expected. "You know a lot about music," I said. "My father played guitar. He taught me when I was small. After he died, I kept playing because it made me feel close to him. Is that why you want to go to music school?" "Partly. But also because I want to be more than just girl who sings in café. I want to write songs. Maybe record album. I want to make something that lasts." The old man behind the counter was watching us with interest. He said something in Thai to Pria, and she laughed, responding in rapid Thai that I couldn't follow. Then she turned to me, her cheeks slightly pink. "What did he say?" "He said you look at me like man in love. I told him you are just friend." "What did he say to that?" "He said no man looks at woman like that if she is just friend." Smart man. Yes, maybe too smart. On the way back to the city, we stopped at a viewpoint overlooking the valley. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, and the lights of Chiang Mai were starting to twinkle below us. We sat on a bench, her hand in mine, and watched the day fade into night. "Mitchell," she said softly. "Yes? I need to tell you something. About my family." Something in her tone made me pay attention. "What about them?" "My mother. She is very sick. Cancer. The treatment is very expensive, and I don't make enough money from singing and cleaning houses." "I'm sorry. I wish I could help." "Maybe you can. But I don't want to ask." "You can ask me anything." She was quiet for a long moment, then said, "I need money for her medicine. 5,000 baht. I know is a lot of money for Thai person, but maybe not so much for American person. I will pay you back, I promise." 5,000 baht was about $150. Not a huge amount, but not nothing either. More importantly, it was the first time she'd asked me for anything, and I wasn't sure how to respond. Part of me wanted to give her the money without question. After all, it was for her sick mother. But another part of me, the part that had been through a divorce and learned to be cautious, wondered if this was how it started. "Of course," I said finally, "I can help with that." "Really? You don't think I am trying to take advantage?" "I think you're trying to take care of your mother. That's what good daughters do." She leaned against me, and I could feel her relax. "Thank you. You are a very kind man. It's nothing, really. Is not nothing to me. Is everything." We sat there in comfortable silence as the last of the daylight faded. I told myself I was just helping a friend, just doing what any decent person would do. But deep down, I knew it was more than that. I was falling for her, and I was willing to do whatever it took to make her happy. Looking back now, I can see how naive I was, how perfectly I played the role of the lonely expat, ready to throw money at any problem if it meant keeping the beautiful young woman interested. But at the time, it felt like love. It felt like the most natural thing in the world. That night, she invited me back to her house. We sat on her balcony again, drinking wine and talking about everything and nothing. When she kissed me, it was different from the brief kiss she'd given me after our first dinner. This was longer, deeper, full of promise and possibility. "I should go," I said, though I didn't move to get up. "You should," she agreed, but she didn't let go of my hand. "I don't want to." "Then don't." I stayed. For the first time in months, I woke up next to someone who was happy to see me. Pria made coffee and breakfast, and we sat in her small kitchen eating eggs and talking about our plans for the day. It felt domestic and comfortable, like we'd been doing it for years. "I have to work this afternoon," she said. "Cleaning house for rich family. But tonight, you come to café?" I sing for you. I'll be there. Good. Maybe after we come back here. My mother is staying with her sister this week for treatment. We will have house to ourselves. The promise in her voice was unmistakable. As I walked home through the morning streets, I felt like a teenager again. Everything seemed brighter, more alive, full of possibility. I was falling in love, and for the first time in years, it felt like it might be mutual. That night at the café, she dedicated her first song to me, Can't Help Myself, by the Four Tops. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was falling hard and fast, and I couldn't seem to stop myself. But as I watched her perform, saw the way she lit up the small stage, I decided I didn't want to stop. For the first time since my divorce, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. After her set, we went back to her house. We made love slowly, tenderly, and afterwards, we lay in her small bed talking about the future. She told me about her dreams of music school, about wanting to travel, about all the places she wanted to see. I told her about my life in Virginia, about the corporate world I'd left behind, about my hopes for what retirement in Thailand might look like. Maybe we travel together, she said, her head on my chest, after my mother is better. I'd like that. Really? You would want to travel with Thai girl? I would want to travel with you. The fact that you're Thai is just a bonus. She laughed, the sound vibrating through my chest. You say very nice things. I mean them. I know. Is why I trust you. Trust. It was a word that carried weight, especially from someone who'd been hurt before. I kissed the top of her head and promised myself I would never do anything to betray that trust. Over the next few weeks, we settled into a routine. I'd pick her up after her cleaning jobs, we'd have dinner together, and 3 nights a week, I'd watch her perform at the cafe. On her nights off, we'd explore the city, or stay in and cook together, or just sit on her balcony talking about everything and nothing. It was during one of these quiet evenings that she first mentioned her brother. Somchai's coming to visit next week, she said casually, as if she'd mentioned it before. Your brother? I didn't know you had a brother. Yes, older brother. He lives in Bangkok, works in construction, like my father did. He wants to meet you. Something in her tone made me look at her more carefully. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Is good thing. He is protective of me, wants to make sure you are a good man. If he approves, then, she shrugged, then maybe we can be more serious. And if he doesn't approve, then we have problem. I didn't like the sound of that, but I told myself it was normal. Of course her brother would want to meet the foreign man his sister was dating. I'd want to do the same if I had a sister. When is he coming? Next Thursday. I thought maybe we have dinner together. The 3 of us. You can meet him. He can meet you. Okay. I'd like to meet him. Good. But Mitchell. Yes? He is very traditional Thai man. He might ask questions about your intentions, about money, about future. Is normal in Thai culture. Don't be offended. I won't be. I understand. But I didn't understand. I didn't understand anything about what was coming, about how meeting Somchai would change everything, about how quickly paradise could turn into something else entirely. The night before Somchai's arrival, Pria was nervous. She cleaned her house twice, cooked all afternoon, and changed clothes 3 times. I tried to reassure her, but she was anxious in a way I'd never seen before. He is very important to me, she explained. After my father died, he became head of family. His opinion matters. I'm sure he's a good man, if he's your brother. He is good man, but he is also practical man. He will want to know that you are serious about me, that you can take care of me. I am serious about you. I know, but he will want to see proof. In Thai culture, man who loves woman helps her family, is expected. What kind of help? If family has problems, man helps solve them. If family needs money, man provides it, is how we show love is real. I was starting to get an uncomfortable feeling in my stomach. And does your family need help? She was quiet for a moment, then said, My mother's treatment is very expensive. More expensive than I told you before. And Somchai. He has some problems in Bangkok. Money problems. What kind of money problems? He borrowed money from wrong people. Now they want it back, with interest. He is scared, Mitchell. Really scared. How much money? 80,000 baht is lot of money for Thai person, but maybe not so much for American person with retirement savings. 80,000 baht. About $2,300. Not a fortune, but not pocket change either. And something about the way she'd brought it up, tied to her brother's visit, made me uneasy. Pria, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Of course. Is this why you're with me? Because you need money? Her eyes flashed with what looked like genuine hurt. How can you ask me that? You think I am prostitute? You think I sleep with you for money? No, that's not what I meant. You just what? You think because I am Thai girl and you are American man, I must be using you? You think I cannot love you for who you are? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. I just wanted to be sure. She was crying now, and I felt like the worst kind of asshole. I love you, Mitchell. I love you for how you make me feel safe, how you listen to me, how you treat me like I matter. Money is just practical thing. Family is family. I pulled her into my arms, and she sobbed against my chest. I'm sorry. I'm just scared. This is all new to me. Is new to me too. But I need you to trust me. And I need to trust you. Can we do that? Yes. But will you help Somchai? For me? Looking down at her tear-streaked face, I knew I was going to say yes. I was in love, and when you're in love, you do stupid things. You ignore red flags, you make excuses, you throw money at problems because it's easier than asking hard questions. Yes, I said. I'll help him. Really? You will do that for me? I will do anything for you. She kissed me then, hard and desperate, and I told myself I was doing the right thing. I was helping the woman I loved, helping her family, proving that my feelings were real. What could be wrong with that? The next evening, Somchai arrived. My first impression was that he looked nothing like Pria. Where she was delicate and graceful, he was thick and rough around the edges. He had the weathered look of someone who'd worked hard his whole life, with calloused hands and the kind of tan that comes from outdoor labor. He was maybe 30, with short-cropped hair and the wary eyes of someone who'd learned not to trust easily. Mitchell, Pria said in English, then switched to Thai to introduce us. Somchai nodded curtly and said something in Thai that sounded formal, but not particularly warm. He says, "Nice to meet you," Pria translated. "Nice to meet you too," I said, extending my hand. Somchai shook it, his grip firm and calloused. We sat down for dinner, and the conversation was stilted and awkward, with Pria translating everything back and forth. Somchai asked about my work, my family, my plans in Thailand. Standard getting-to-know-you questions, but delivered with an intensity that made me feel like I was being interviewed for a job. He wants to know if you are serious about Pria, she translated after a rapid exchange in Thai. Tell him yes, very serious. More Thai then. He wants to know if you understand responsibility of Thai boyfriend. What kind of responsibility? Taking care of family. Being good provider. Showing respect for Thai culture. Tell him I understand, and I want to do right by your family. Somchai nodded approvingly at this, and some of the tension in the room seemed to ease. We managed to get through dinner without any major incidents, and I started to think maybe I'd been worrying for nothing. It was after dinner, when we were sitting on the balcony, drinking beer, that Somchai brought up the money. He spoke in Thai to Pria, who looked uncomfortable as she translated. He says he is embarrassed to ask, but he needs help. He borrowed money from bad people in Bangkok, and now they are threatening him. How much money? I asked, though I already knew the answer. 80,000 baht. He says he will pay back, but he needs time. These people, they don't give time. I looked at Somchai, who was watching me intently. His expression was serious, almost desperate. Tell him I'll help, I said. The relief on both their faces was immediate and overwhelming. Pria started crying again, and Somchai actually smiled for the first time all evening. He said something in Thai that sounded like thanks, then got up and shook my hand again, this time with genuine warmth. He says you are good man, Pria translated. He says I am lucky to have you. I'm the lucky one, I said, and meant it. The next morning, I went to the bank and withdrew the money. 80,000 baht in cash, bundled in a brown envelope that felt heavier than it should have. When I gave it to Somchai, he actually bowed slightly, then hugged me, the first physical affection he'd shown. Thank you, he said in English, one of the few English words he seemed to know. Thank you, brother. Brother. The word hit me harder than I expected. I'd never had a brother, never been part of a close family. The idea that I might be accepted, that I might belong somewhere, was almost overwhelming. After Somchai left for Bangkok, Pria and I spent the day together. She was happier than I'd seen her since we'd met, lighter somehow, as if a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. You made him very happy, she told me as we walked through the night market. He was so worried about those men. Now he can sleep again. I'm glad I could help. You don't know what this means to me, Mitchell. To my family, we will not forget this. It's what family does for each other. She stopped walking and looked at me. You really think of us as family? I'm starting to. Good. Because I think of you as family too, more than family. That night, we made love with a passion and intensity that surprised us both. It felt like we'd crossed some invisible line, moved from dating to something deeper, something more permanent. As we lay in bed afterwards, she traced patterns on my chest with her finger. Mitchell? Yes? I want to tell you something. About my father. What about him? He always said that family is not about blood. Family is about who shows up when you need them, who helps you when you cannot help yourself. You showed up for us. You are family now. I love you, Pria. I love you too. And I promise, I will make this up to you. Someday, when I am successful, when I have money, I will pay you back everything. You don't need to pay me back. That's not why I did it. I know, but I want to. Is important to me. I kissed her forehead and pulled her closer. We'll figure it out. We have time. But time, as it turned out, was the one thing we didn't have. 2 weeks later, Somchai was back. I was at home, reading on my small porch, when I heard the motorbike pull up outside my gate. It was evening, and Pria was at work. So I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the gate, Somchai was standing there, but he looked different, nervous, agitated, constantly looking over his shoulder. Somchai? I said. What are you doing here? He said something in rapid Thai that I couldn't understand, then switched to his broken English. Money, he said. Need money. What? I gave you money. 80,000 baht. Not enough. Need more. They angry. Very angry. My heart sank. How much more? He held up his hands, showing me his fingers. 20,000. Need 20,000. 20,000 baht. Yes. Please. They hurt me. If no money. I looked at him more carefully. His face was bruised, and his hands were shaking. Whatever was happening in Bangkok, it was serious. Where's Pria? Does she know you're here? Working. Cannot tell Pria. She worry too much. Just you and me, okay? The fact that he didn't want Pria to know made me uncomfortable. But he looked genuinely scared. And 20,000 baht was only about $570. If it would solve the problem for good, it seemed worth it. Okay, I said. But this is the last time. After this, the debt is paid. right? Yes, last time. After this, finished. I went inside and got the money from my emergency cash stash. When I handed it to him, he actually looked relieved for the first time since he'd arrived. Thank you, brother. You saved my life. Just be careful. Okay, and don't come here again without calling first. You scared me. Sorry. We'll call next time. He left as quickly as he'd come, and I stood in my yard wondering what the hell I'd gotten myself into. 20,000 baht wasn't the end of the world, but it was starting to add up. And something about the whole situation felt wrong, though I couldn't put my finger on what. I decided not to tell Pria about Somchai's visit, at least not right away. She'd been so happy and relaxed since the first payment, and I didn't want to worry her. Besides, he'd said it was the last time. The problem was solved. But problems like this, I was starting to learn, are never solved. They just get bigger. 3 weeks later, he was back. This time, he didn't even pretend to be polite. He showed up at my house at 10 o'clock at night, obviously drunk, and started pounding on my door. Mitchell! Open! I opened the door, and he pushed past me into my house. He was agitated, aggressive, and speaking in rapid Thai mixed with broken English. Money, he said. Need money now. Somchai, you're drunk. You need to go home. No. Need money now. 50,000. Very important. 50,000 baht? Are you insane? I already gave you over 100,000. Not enough. They want more. They say interest. They say I owe more now. That's not my problem. I helped you twice. I'm not helping again. He grabbed my arm, and I could smell the alcohol on his breath. You help, or they hurt Pria too. You understand? They hurt Pria. The threat was clear, even through his broken English. I felt a chill run down my spine. What do you mean they'll hurt Pria? They know about you. They know about farang boyfriend with money. They say if I cannot pay, they take payment from family. They take payment from Pria. You told them about me? Had to tell. They make me tell. Now they want money from you. I was starting to understand what was happening. This wasn't just about Somchai's gambling debts. This was about me, about the fact that I was a foreigner with money who'd been stupid enough to get involved. How much do they want? 50,000 now. Maybe more later. They say American man can afford it. And if I don't pay? They hurt Pria. They hurt you. They know where you live, where she works. They know everything. I looked at him standing in my living room, drunk and desperate and dangerous, and I realized I was in way over my head. This wasn't about helping family anymore. This was extortion. I need to think about this, I said. No think. Pay now. I don't have 50,000 baht in the house. Then get it. Bank open tomorrow. You get money. You bring to me. And then this is over. Maybe. Maybe not. Depends on them. That's when I knew I was fucked. This was never going to end. They'd keep coming back, keep demanding more money, until I had nothing left to give. Get out, I said. What? Get out of my house. Now. You know understand. They hurt. I understand perfectly. But I'm not giving you any more money tonight. Get out. He stood there for a moment, swaying slightly, then said something in Thai that sounded like a curse. He walked to the door, then turned back. You make big mistake, Mitchell. Very big mistake. After he left, I sat in my living room with my head in my hands, trying to figure out what to do. I could call the police, but what would I tell them? That I'd voluntarily given money to someone who was now demanding more? That I was involved with loan sharks through my girlfriend's brother? In Thailand, where I was a foreigner with no connections and no understanding of how the system worked. I could talk to Pria, but what if she was involved? What if this whole thing had been a setup from the beginning? The thought made me sick, but I couldn't shake it. or I could pay. Keep paying until they were satisfied, or until I ran out of money, whichever came first. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed listening to every sound, jumping at every motorbike that passed by, wondering if Somchai would come back with friends. By morning, I'd made my decision. I was going to confront Pria. I was going to tell her everything and see how she reacted. If she was genuinely surprised and upset, maybe we could figure out a solution together. If she wasn't, well, then I'd know where I stood. She was at my house by 8 o'clock, bringing me breakfast and coffee like she did most mornings. She was cheerful, chatty, completely normal. If she knew about her brother's visit, she was hiding it well. "You look tired," she said, studying my face. "You sleep okay?" "Not really." "Pria, we need to talk." Something in my tone made her pause. "What about?" "About your brother, about the money, about what's really going on." Her face went pale. "What do you mean?" "Somchai was here last night. He was drunk, he was aggressive, and he demanded 50,000 baht. He said if I don't pay, they'll hurt you, they'll hurt me. He said this is never going to end." She sat down heavily, her hands shaking. "He came here, to your house? You didn't know?" "No. I told him to stay away from you, that you had already helped enough. I cannot believe he came here." "So you knew he needed more money?" "I knew he was still having problems, but I told him to handle it himself. I told him not to bother you anymore." "But you didn't tell me." "I didn't want to worry you. I thought it was finished." I studied her face, looking for signs of deception. She seemed genuinely upset, genuinely surprised. But I'd been fooled before. "Pria, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." "Okay. Was any of this planned? Meeting me, dating me, getting me involved with your family's problems?" Her eyes filled with tears. "How can you ask me that? You think I am some kind of criminal?" "I think I'm a middle-aged American man with money who's been in Thailand for less than 4 months. I think I'm exactly the kind of person who gets taken advantage of." "You think I don't love you?" "I think love and money have gotten confused, and I can't tell the difference anymore." She was crying now, but her voice was steady. "I love you, Mitchell. I love you more than I have ever loved any man, but I also need you. My family needs you. In Thailand, these things are not separate. Love and need, they go together. That's not love, Pria. That's dependence. Maybe, but is also how we survive. You cannot understand because you are American, because you have money, because you have choices. I don't have choices. I have family and responsibilities and men who threaten to hurt people I care about. So what do you want me to do? Keep paying them forever? I don't know. I don't know what to do." For the first time since I'd met her, she looked helpless. Not manipulative, not calculating, just lost and scared and overwhelmed. Despite everything, I felt my heart break for her. "We need to figure this out together," I said, "but no more secrets, no more surprises. If your brother contacts you, you tell me. If anyone else wants money, you tell me. Deal? Deal. And we need to set limits. I can't keep giving money to every problem that comes up. I'm not rich, Pria. I'm just a retired guy, trying to make his savings last." "I understand." "Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it feels like your family sees me as an ATM machine." "Is not true. We see you as family. But in Thai culture, family helps family. Is just how it is." "Well, this is American culture talking to Thai culture. And American culture says there have to be boundaries." She wiped her eyes and nodded. "What do you want to do about Somchai?" "I don't know. But I'm not giving him 50,000 baht. Not without knowing exactly what's going on, and having some guarantee that it will end. He will be angry. Let him be angry. I'm angry too. That afternoon, we went to see Somchai together. He was staying at a cheap guest house near the train station, and when we found him, he was sober but still agitated. When he saw me with Pria, his face darkened. He said something in Thai to Pria, his voice sharp and accusatory. She responded equally sharply, and they had a rapid-fire argument that I couldn't follow. Finally, she turned to me. "He is angry that I brought you. He says this is family business. Tell him I'm family too." That's what he called me when I gave him the first payment. "More Thai then. He says you are not Thai family, you are ATM family." "What the hell does that mean?" "It means," she hesitated, "it means you are family when we need money, but not family when we make decisions." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "Is that how you see me too?" "Number, but is how he sees you." I looked at Somchai, who was watching us with a mixture of anger and desperation. "Ask him exactly what's going on. Who are these people? How much money does he really owe? What happens if I don't pay?" The conversation that followed was long and heated, and heated. Somchai would say something in Thai, Pria would ask questions, he would answer defensively, and she would translate for me. Gradually, a clearer picture emerged. Somchai had borrowed money from a loan shark in Bangkok to start a small construction business. When the business failed, he'd borrowed more money to pay back the first loan. When he couldn't pay that, he'd borrowed money from a different loan shark to pay the second one. It was a classic pyramid scheme. Except instead of recruiting investors, he was recruiting lenders. The current debt was somewhere around 300,000 baht, about $8,500, and growing every month due to interest. The money I'd given him had barely made a dent in what he owed, and now the loan sharks were demanding payment in full. "They know about you," Pria translated. "They know you are American with money. They told Somchai that, if he cannot pay, they will get money from you instead." "How do they know about me?" "That," Somchai told them. "He had to tell them something when he brought them the money you gave him. So, now they think I'm responsible for his debt. They think you are a good source of money. They think if they threaten Pria, you will pay anything." "And are they right?" She looked at me for a long moment. "I don't know. Are they?" It was the question I'd been avoiding, the one that got to the heart of everything. How much was I willing to pay to keep her safe? How much was I willing to sacrifice for a relationship that might not even be real? "I don't know either," I said finally. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I kept thinking about the 300,000 baht, about the fact that I probably had enough money to pay it. My retirement savings, my emergency fund, the money I'd gotten from selling my house in Virginia, it was all sitting in my bank account, earning almost nothing while I tried to figure out what to do with my life. I could pay off Somchai's debt and be done with it. It would hurt, but it wouldn't bankrupt me. And if it meant keeping Pria safe, keeping our relationship intact, maybe it was worth it. But what if it didn't end there? What if paying off the debt just made me a bigger target? What if they came back in 6 months with a new crisis, a new emergency that required my help? I was still wrestling with these questions when I heard the motorbike pull up outside my house. It was 3 in the morning, and my first thought was that it was Somchai again, coming to make more demands. But when I looked out the window, I saw 2 men I didn't recognize standing by my gate. They were Thai, both young and tough-looking, wearing black clothes and serious expressions. One of them had a knife in his hand, not threatening, just visible, a reminder of what could happen if I didn't cooperate. I didn't answer the door. I stood there in my dark living room, heart pounding, waiting for them to leave. They stood by my gate for maybe 10 minutes, talking quietly to each other, then got back on their motorbike and rode away. But the message was clear. They knew where I lived. They could come back any time they wanted. And next time, they might not be so patient. The next morning, I called Pria. "We need to talk," I said. "Now." She came over immediately, and I told her about the midnight visitors. Her face went white. They came here? To your house? Two men. One had a knife. They didn't try to get in, but they wanted me to know they were there. Oh God. Mitchell, I am so sorry. I never wanted this to happen. What do you think they want? Money. They want you to pay Somchai's debt. All of it. I think so, yes. 300,000 baht. Yes. I sat down heavily. That's almost $9,000. I know is a lot of money. It's not just the money, Pria. It's the principle. If I pay this, what's to stop them from coming back? What's to stop other people from thinking I'm an easy target? Maybe if you pay, they will leave us alone. Maybe. Or maybe they'll see me as a permanent source of income. She was quiet for a long moment. What do you want to do? I want to go to the police. Police will not help. These people, they have connections. They pay police to leave them alone. Then what do you suggest? I think maybe you should pay. Just like that? $9,000? Is not just money, Mitchell. Is our safety. Is our future. Our future? What future? A future where I'm constantly being extorted. Where every time your family has a problem, I'm expected to solve it with money. Is not forever. Just this time. That's what you said last time. And the time before that. She started crying. And I felt like the world's biggest asshole. But I also felt trapped, manipulated, and increasingly desperate. I was in love with a woman whose family was bankrupting me, and I couldn't see a way out that didn't involve either losing her or losing everything. I need time to think, I said. How much time? I don't know. A few days. Maybe a week. They will not wait a week. Then what do you want me to do? Go to the bank right now and withdraw $9,000? Maybe. Yes. Maybe is best. I looked at her sitting there in my living room, beautiful and desperate, and asking me to destroy my financial future, and I realized I didn't know her at all. I didn't know if she loved me or if she was just using me. I didn't know if she was a victim or a co-conspirator. I didn't know anything except that I was in way over my head. I'll think about it, I said. Please, Mitchell. I know is hard. But please, I cannot lose you. And I cannot watch them hurt you. Are you saying they'll hurt me if I don't pay? I don't know. Maybe. They are dangerous people. Then maybe I should leave Thailand. The words came out before I'd fully thought them through, but as soon as I said them, I realized they might be true. Maybe the smart thing was to cut my losses and run. Leave? You would leave me? I would leave the situation. If I'm not here, I'm not a target. But what about us? What about our future? What future, Pria? A future where I'm constantly being threatened? Where your family's problems become my problems? Where I'm expected to solve everything with money? Is not like that. Then what is it like? She was quiet for a long moment. Is like Thailand. Is like family. Is like love that includes responsibility. That's not love. That's blackmail. Maybe. But is also how we survive. I spent the next 3 days thinking about what to do. I avoided the expat bars where other foreigners might give me advice I didn't want to hear. I avoided the places where Pria might find me. I just walked around Chiang Mai, trying to clear my head and figure out what the hell I was going to do. The city that had felt like paradise 6 months ago now felt like a prison. Every street corner could be hiding someone who wanted to hurt me. Every motorbike that slowed down might be carrying a message I didn't want to receive. Every knock on my door could be the beginning of the end. On the third day, I made my decision. I was going to pay the money, not because I thought it was the right thing to do, but because I was scared. Scared of what they might do to me, scared of what they might do to Pria, scared of trying to navigate the Thai legal system as a foreigner with no connections. I was going to pay. And then I was going to figure out how to get out of this situation before it got any worse. I called Pria and told her to meet me at the bank. She arrived looking nervous and hopeful, and I could see the relief in her eyes when I told her what I'd decided. You will pay? All of it? I'll pay. But this is the last time. After this, I'm done. No more family emergencies, no more crises, no more problems that require my money to solve. Yes, I understand. After this is finished. And I want to meet with these people. I want to look them in the eye and make sure they understand that this is the end of it. Is not good idea. These people, they are dangerous. I don't care. If I'm paying $9,000, I want to make sure they understand that I'm not a permanent solution to their problems. She looked uncomfortable, but she nodded. Okay, I will arrange. We went into the bank, and I withdrew 300,000 baht in cash. The teller counted it twice, then put it in a brown envelope that seemed far too small for such a large amount of money. As I held it in my hands, I felt like I was holding my future. A future that was rapidly slipping away. Are you sure about this? I asked Pria one more time. Is only way, she said, is only way to be free. But as we walked out of the bank, I had a sinking feeling that freedom was the last thing I was buying. The meeting was arranged for that evening at a restaurant in a part of Chiang Mai I'd never been to before. It was in an industrial area, the kind of place where tourists never went and locals minded their own business. The restaurant was nearly empty, just a few tables of men who looked like they might be involved in businesses that operated after dark. Pria and I sat at a corner table, the envelope of money on the table between us. She was nervous, constantly looking around, checking her phone. I was nervous too, but also strangely calm. I was about to meet the people who had been threatening me, and finally, I would know exactly what I was dealing with. They arrived 20 minutes late, 2 men in their 30s, both wearing nice clothes and gold jewelry. They looked like successful businessmen, not street thugs. One was tall and thin, with a sharp suit and an expensive watch. The other was shorter and broader, with a friendly smile that didn't reach his eyes. They sat down across from us, and the tall one spoke to Pria in Thai. She responded nervously, then turned to me. He says, "Thank you for coming. He says he hopes we can solve this problem tonight." Tell him I hope so too. More Thai then. He wants to know if you brought the money. I gestured to the envelope on the table. It's all there. 300,000 baht. The shorter man reached for the envelope, but I put my hand on it. First, I want to make sure we understand each other. This pays off Somchai's debt completely. After tonight, you leave him alone. You leave me alone. You leave my girlfriend alone. This is the end of it. Pria translated, and the tall man smiled. He said something in Thai that made Pria's face go pale. What did he say? He says this pays off current debt, but there is still interest accumulating. And there are fees for collection, for inconvenience. What kind of fees? He says another 100,000 baht for fees, and interest continues until all debts are paid. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Are you fucking kidding me? Please, Mitchell, don't make them angry. I'm not making them angry. They're making me angry. We had a deal. The tall man said something else, his voice calm but firm. Pria translated reluctantly. He says in Thailand, debt is not just money. Debt is relationship. You are now part of relationship. You are responsible for making sure all debts are paid. And if I refuse, he says would be unfortunate for everyone involved. The shorter man, who had been quiet up until now, leaned forward and said something in English. His accent was thick, but his meaning was clear. You pay now, or you pay later, but you pay. And if I don't pay, he smiled, and this time it was genuinely menacing. Then we have problem. You have problem. She have problem. He gestured toward Pria. I looked at Pria, who was sitting there looking terrified, and I realized I was completely fucked. These people weren't going to let me walk away. They had found a source of money, and they were going to milk it until there was nothing left. I need to think about this, I said. No, think. the shorter man said. You pay now. I don't have another 100,000 baht. You have bank account. You have credit card. You have ways to get money. And if I get the money, then what? Will you come back next month asking for more? The tall man said something in Thai, and both men laughed. It was not a friendly laugh. He says, depends on how well you take care of your responsibilities. Pria translated, my responsibilities. Your responsibility to family. Your responsibility to take care of problems. I stood up, my hands shaking with anger and fear. This is insane. I'm not doing this. The shorter man stood up too, his hand moving to his jacket pocket. You sit down. We talk more. Number. We're done talking. I grabbed Pria's hand and started to pull her toward the door. She resisted, saying something in Thai to the men at the table. They responded sharply, and she pulled away from me. I cannot go, she said. If I go with you, they will be very angry. Then we'll deal with it together. No, you don't understand. They will hurt me. They will hurt you. Please, just give them the money. I don't have the money. Then get it. Please, Mitchell. I am begging you. Looked at her standing there, tears streaming down her face, and I realized she was as trapped as I was. Maybe more trapped, because she couldn't just leave Thailand. This was her home, her family, her life. If I get the money, I said, will this be the end of it? I don't know. I hope so. That's not good enough. Is all I can give you. I don't control them. I don't control anything. I looked at the two men sitting at the table, watching us with patient interest. They had all the time in the world, and they knew it. They'd done this before, probably dozens of times. Find a vulnerable foreigner, create a crisis, then slowly bleed them dry. 3 days? I said finally. Give me 3 days to get the money. The tall man nodded and said something in Thai. Pria translated, he says 3 days is acceptable, but if you run, if you leave Thailand, they will find you. I'm not running. Good, because running would be very bad for everyone. We left the restaurant in silence, and I drove us back to my house on autopilot. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely grip the steering wheel. In the span of one evening, I'd gone from thinking I was solving a problem to realizing I was trapped in a nightmare that might never end. I'm sorry, Pria said as we sat in my living room. I'm so sorry this happened. Are you? Are you really sorry? Or is this what you expected? What do you mean? I mean, did you know this would happen? Did you know that paying Somchai's debt would just make me a target? Number, I thought. I hoped it would be finished. But you weren't surprised when they asked for more money. She was quiet for a long moment. In Thailand, these things are complicated. Debt is not just about money. It's about respect, about power, about showing that you can make people do what you want. And what do they want from me? They want you to be afraid. They want you to know that they control your life now. And do they? I don't know. Do they? I looked at her sitting there, beautiful and sad and completely trapped, and I realized I didn't know the answer to that question. I didn't know if I was strong enough to walk away, or stupid enough to keep paying, or desperate enough to try something else entirely. I need to think, I said. I need to be alone. I understand. But Mitchell. What? What? Please don't do anything stupid. Please don't try to fight them. They are more dangerous than you know. After she left, I sat in my empty house and tried to figure out what to do. I had maybe $50,000 in various accounts, my retirement savings, my emergency fund, the money from selling my house. It was supposed to last me 10 years, maybe 15 if I was careful. Now I was looking at spending almost a quarter of it on a debt that wasn't even mine. But it wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about the principle, about not letting myself be turned into a victim. I'd come to Thailand to escape one kind of trap, and I'd walked right into another one. I could pay the 100,000 baht and hope they'd leave me alone. But deep down, I knew they wouldn't. They'd found a reliable source of income, and they'd keep coming back until there was nothing left. I could go to the police, but Pria was right. These people probably had connections, and I was just a foreigner who'd gotten in over his head. I could leave Thailand, but that would mean abandoning Pria, abandoning the life I'd tried to build, admitting that I'd failed again. Or I could try something else, something that scared me even more than the alternatives. I could fight back. The next morning, I called Derek, the British expat I'd met at the bar months ago. He'd been in Thailand for 15 years, and he'd seen everything. If anyone knew how to deal with a situation like this, it would be him. "You got yourself into a right mess, didn't you?" he said after I'd explained the situation. "That's one way to put it. And you're sure the girl isn't in on it?" "I don't know. I want to believe she's not, but I can't be sure." That's your first mistake right there. In Thailand, you can't afford to trust anyone completely. Not until you've known them for years. So what do I do? You've got 3 options. Pay, and hope they go away, which they won't. Run and hope they don't follow you, which they might. Or you make it clear that you're not as easy a target as they think. What does that mean? It means you remind them that foreigners have resources too, that you're not some drunk tourist who'll disappear in a week. That messing with you might cause them more problems than it's worth. How do I do that? You need to make some noise. Contact your embassy. File a police report. Let people know what's happening. Make it clear that if something happens to you, people will ask questions. Will that work? Maybe. Maybe not. But it's better than just rolling over and letting them rob you blind. And if it doesn't work? Then you run, fast and far. I spent the rest of the day thinking about Derek's advice. Making noise sounded good in theory, but in practice, it meant admitting to my embassy that I'd been stupid enough to get involved with loan sharks. It meant creating a paper trail that would follow me for years, but it also meant taking some control back, instead of just being a victim. That evening, I called Pria and told her to meet me at a restaurant downtown, a public place, well lit, with lots of people around. I needed to have a conversation with her, and I needed to feel safe while I did it. She arrived looking nervous and exhausted. She'd been crying, and she looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Did you get the money?" she asked immediately. "I can get it. But before I do, I need to know something." "What?" "I need to know if you're working with them." "Working with who?" "The loan sharks. Your brother. Anyone who's trying to get money from me." Her face went white. "How can you ask me that?" "Because I'm about to hand over my life savings to people who are threatening to hurt me. Because I need to know if the woman I love is part of the conspiracy to destroy me." "I am not part of conspiracy. I am victim. Same as you." "Then prove it." "How?" "Come with me to the embassy. Help me file a report. Show them that you're on my side." She was quiet for a long moment. "I cannot do that." "Why not?" "Because they will know. They will know I betrayed them." "Betrayed them? Or betrayed the plan?" "There is no plan. I am trying to protect you, but I am also trying to protect myself. If I go to embassy, they will hurt me. They will hurt my family." "What family?" "Your mother is dying. Your brother is a criminal. And you're sitting here telling me you can't help me save both our lives. You don't understand. You are American. You have passport. You can leave any time you want." "I cannot leave. This is my home. These are my people. I have to live with whatever happens." "Your people?" "The people who are trying to extort money from your boyfriend. They are not my people, but they are part of my world, and my world is not like your world." I looked at her sitting across from me, and I realized we were from different universes. She was thinking about survival in a system I didn't understand. I was thinking about justice in a system that didn't exist here. "So, what do you want me to do?" I asked. "I want you to pay them. I want you to make them go away. I want us to be safe." "And then what? We live happily ever after, waiting for the next crisis. We figure it out. We take it one day at a time." "That's not a plan, Pria. That's just hoping for the best. Sometimes hoping for the best is all you can do." I reached across the table and took her hand. "I love you. I want to protect you. But I can't keep paying money to people who are never going to leave us alone. So what will you do?" "I'm going to try Derek's plan. I'm going to make noise. I'm going to let people know what's happening. And if that makes them angry, then at least I'll go down fighting instead of just being robbed." She pulled her hand away. "You are making a mistake. You are making things worse. Maybe, but I can't just keep paying. I won't survive it financially, and I won't survive it emotionally." "Then what happens to us?" "I don't know. I guess that depends on how much you're willing to risk to help me." She was quiet for a long moment. "I cannot go to embassy. I cannot file report. But I can tell you things. I can help you understand what you are dealing with." "What kind of things?" "Names, places, how they operate, who they pay, who they fear. And in exchange, you take me with you when you leave Thailand." "What?" "I know you are thinking about leaving. I can see it in your eyes. When you go, take me with you. Help me start over somewhere else." "Pria, I can't. Please. I know it's a big thing to ask. But I cannot stay here. If you make them angry, they will punish me for your choices." I looked at her across the table, and I realized she was right. If I fought back, she'd pay the price. If I ran, she'd be left behind to face the consequences. There was no way to save myself without either abandoning her or taking her with me. "Okay," I said, "but first, we try to fix this. We try to make it stop." "How?" "You tell me everything you know about these people. I document everything. I make it clear that I'm not going to be a victim. And if it doesn't work, then we run. Together." She nodded. And for the first time in days, I saw a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "Okay, but we have to be very careful. If they find out I am helping you." "They won't find out, I promise." But promises, I was learning, were dangerous things in Thailand. They had a way of turning into something else entirely, something that could destroy you if you weren't careful. Over the next 2 days, Pria told me everything she knew. The loan sharks were part of a larger organization that operated throughout northern Thailand. They had connections to the police, to local politicians, to other criminal enterprises. They weren't just thugs. They were businessmen who used fear and violence as tools of their trade. The tall man was called Kritsana, and he was the local boss. The shorter man was his enforcer, known as Niran. They ran their operation out of a legitimate business, a used car dealership that served as a front for money laundering and loan sharking. They'd been watching me for weeks, gathering information about my finances, my habits, my vulnerabilities. They knew where I lived, where I ate, where I went for entertainment. They knew about my divorce, my retirement savings, my isolation from other expats. Most importantly, they knew I was in love with Pria, and they knew that love made me vulnerable to manipulation. "They chose me specifically?" I asked. "Not chose, but when Somchai brought them money from American boyfriend, they became very interested. They made him tell them everything about you. So this was always going to happen?" "I think so. Yes. Once they knew about you, they saw opportunity." "And you? Did you know?" "I knew Somchai was in trouble. I knew he needed money, but I didn't know they would target you specifically until it was too late." "Too late for what?" "Too late to protect you. Too late to stop it. Too late to do anything, except try to survive." I spent that night writing everything down. Names, places, amounts of money, threats that had been made. I documented every conversation, every meeting, every moment of fear and intimidation. By morning, I had a detailed report that read like a crime novel. I also wrote a letter to my ex-wife, explaining what was happening and asking her to contact the authorities if anything happened to me. I wrote another letter to my brother and a third to my lawyer back in Virginia. I made copies of everything and stored them in different locations. If something happened to me, people would know why. The next morning, I went to the American Embassy in Bangkok. It was a 4-hour drive, and I made it without telling Pria where I was going. I needed to do this alone, without any possibility of being talked out of it. The embassy was a fortress of glass and steel, surrounded by concrete barriers and armed guards. Getting inside required multiple security checks, but eventually, I found myself sitting across from a young consular officer named Sarah Martinez. "What can I do for you, Mr. Peterson?" she asked. "I'm being extorted," I said. "I need help." I told her everything, showed her my documentation, explained the threats that had been made. She listened without interruption, taking notes, asking clarifying questions. "This is a serious situation," she said when I finished, "but I need to be clear about what we can and cannot do." "What do you mean?" "We can document your complaint. We can contact the Thai authorities and ask them to investigate. We can help you if you decide to leave Thailand. But we cannot intervene directly in what is essentially a criminal matter." "So you're saying I'm on my own?" "I'm saying your options are limited. The Thai police are the appropriate authority to handle this, but as you've noted, these people may have connections that make police intervention ineffective." "So, what do you recommend?" "Honestly, I recommend you leave Thailand. Today, if possible, we can help you contact your bank, arrange for wire transfers, even help you book a flight. But staying here, especially if you're not going to pay these people, is dangerous." "And my girlfriend? If she's a Thai citizen, she would need to apply for a visa through normal channels. That process can take months, and it's not guaranteed. So I have to choose between abandoning her and potentially being killed. I'm sorry, but those may be your only options." I left the embassy feeling more trapped than ever. I had official documentation of my situation, but no official help. I had a plan to escape, but it meant abandoning the woman I loved. I had allies in the form of embassy staff, but they were powerless to actually protect me. On the drive back to Chiang Mai, I called Derek and told him what had happened. "You did the right thing," he said. "Now you need to make some noise locally. Let people know what's happening. Make it clear that you're not going to disappear quietly." "How do I do that?" "Start with the expat community. Tell your story. Make sure everyone knows what these people are doing. Word will get back to them that you're not keeping quiet. And then you see what happens. Maybe they back off. Maybe they escalate. Either way, you'll know where you stand." That evening, I met with Pria at a coffee shop near the university. She looked terrible, pale, exhausted, constantly looking over her shoulder. "Where did you go today?" she asked. "Bangkok. I went to the embassy." "You went without telling me?" "I needed to do it alone." "What did they say?" "They said I should leave Thailand. Today, if possible." Her face crumpled. "And you will leave me?" "I don't want to. But I don't see any other choice." "There is always choice. You choose to fight or you choose to run. But you also choose to abandon people or to protect them. I'm trying to protect you. That's why I went to the embassy. You are trying to protect yourself. I understand. But what about me? What happens to me when you leave?" "I don't know. I wish I did. I know what happens. They will punish me for your choices. They will make me pay for your rebellion. Then come with me." "How?" "I have no visa, no money, no way to leave Thailand legally." "We'll figure something out." "You keep saying that. But time is running out. Tomorrow, They want their money. What will you tell them? I looked at her sitting across from me, and I realized I'd been avoiding the fundamental question. Was I willing to sacrifice my financial future for a relationship that might not survive the stress we were under? Was I willing to risk my life for a woman who might not be able to escape with me? I'm going to tell them no, I said finally. No? I'm not paying. I'm not going to let them turn me into a victim. Then what will you do? I'm going to fight. I'm going to make noise. I'm going to make it clear that I'm not going away quietly. And if they hurt you, then at least I'll go down fighting instead of just being robbed. She reached across the table and took my hand. I love you, Mitchell. I love you for trying to protect me, for trying to solve my family's problems, for caring about me when no one else did. But I also love you too much to watch you get killed. What are you saying? I am saying maybe you should pay them. Maybe you should give them what they want. And then what? Live in fear for the rest of my life? Live. Just live. We figure out the rest later. Pria. I can't. I won't survive it emotionally. I won't survive watching them come back again and again. Then leave. Go back to America. Find someone else. Start over. I don't want someone else. I want you. You want idea of me. You want Thai girlfriend who makes you feel young and desired and needed. But real me is complicated. Real me comes with family and problems and culture you don't understand. That's not true. It is true. And is okay. Is not your fault. But you cannot save me by destroying yourself. We sat there in silence for a long moment, both of us crying. Both of us knowing that something was ending. Not just our relationship, but my entire fantasy of what life in Thailand could be. What do you want me to do? I asked. I want you to choose yourself. I want you to save yourself. I want you to remember that you came here to escape, not to be trapped. And you? I will handle my own problems. I will survive like I always have. How? I don't know, but I will figure it out. I looked at her across the table, and I realized she was stronger than I'd ever given her credit for. She wasn't a victim waiting to be rescued. She was a survivor who'd been trying to protect both of us, even when it meant sacrificing her own happiness. I'm sorry, I said. I'm sorry I got you into this. I'm sorry I can't fix it. You don't need to fix it. You never needed to fix it. You just needed to love me. And you did. I still do. I know. But sometimes love is not enough. That night, I packed my bags. Not everything. I didn't want to make it obvious that I was leaving. Just the essentials, the things I couldn't replace. My passport, my important documents, some clothes, a few personal items that meant something to me. I also withdrew as much money as I could from my accounts without triggering any automatic alerts. Not enough to pay the loan sharks, but enough to get me out of Thailand and back to the United States. I was planning to leave the next morning, before the meeting with Kritsana and Niran. I was going to disappear and let them figure out that their source of income had dried up. But at 3 a.m, I heard the motorbike pull up outside my house again. This time, I didn't hesitate. I grabbed my bag and my passport and headed for the back door. I was almost to the rear gate when I heard the front door splinter. They weren't being subtle anymore. They were breaking into my house. I ran through the narrow alley behind my house, my heart pounding, my bag bouncing against my back. I could hear voices behind me, shouting in Thai, but I didn't stop to listen. I just ran. I made it to the main road and flagged down a taxi. Airport, I said, fast. The driver looked at me, disheveled, sweating, obviously terrified, and hit the gas without asking questions. As we drove through the empty streets of Chiang Mai, I looked back at the city that had been my home for 6 months. The city where I'd fallen in love, where I'd tried to build a new life, where I'd learned that paradise always comes with a price. I thought about Pria, probably sleeping in her small house, unaware that I was running away like a coward. I thought about what would happen to her when they realized I was gone. I thought about the threats they'd made, the violence they'd promised. But I also thought about survival. About the fact that I couldn't save her by destroying myself. About the fact that love sometimes means knowing when to let go. The airport was nearly empty at that hour. I bought a ticket on the first flight to Bangkok, then a connecting flight to Los Angeles. I didn't care about the cost. I just wanted to get as far away as possible, as quickly as possible. As I sat in the departure lounge, waiting for my flight, I wrote one last letter to Pria. I tried to explain why I'd left, why I couldn't stay, why I'd chosen myself over her. I tried to tell her that I loved her, that I was sorry, that I hoped she'd understand. But as I wrote, I realized that no explanation would be enough. I'd promised to protect her, to solve her problems, to be her family. And when the going got tough, I'd run away like a scared child. I was still a coward, still a failure, still a man who couldn't handle the responsibilities that came with love. But I was alive, and for now, that had to be enough. The flight to Bangkok was smooth, and I made my connection to Los Angeles without any problems. No one followed me, no one questioned me, no one tried to stop me. I was just another expat leaving Thailand, another middle-aged man whose Asian adventure had ended badly. It wasn't until I was somewhere over the Pacific Ocean that I finally allowed myself to think about what I'd left behind. Not just Pria, but the life I'd tried to build, the person I'd hoped to become. I'd come to Thailand to escape the failure of my marriage, the disappointment of my career, the suffocating routine of suburban Virginia. Instead, I'd found new ways to fail, new ways to disappoint people, new ways to prove that I wasn't the man I wanted to be. But I'd also found love, however briefly. I'd found someone who'd made me feel alive again, who'd made me believe that second chances were possible. And maybe that was worth something, even if it had ended in disaster. When I landed in Los Angeles, I called my ex-wife. It was early morning in California, and she was getting ready for work. "Mitchell, are you okay? You sound terrible." "I'm fine. I'm back in the States." "Back? I thought you were living in Thailand." "I was." Things didn't work out. "What happened?" I started to tell her the story, but I couldn't get through it. I started crying, right there in the airport, surrounded by strangers and security guards and the overwhelming noise of American life. "I fucked up, Janet. I fucked up everything." "Okay. It's okay. Where are you now?" "Lax. I just landed." "Do you need help? Do you need somewhere to stay?" "I don't know." "I don't know what I need. Come to Virginia. Stay with me until you figure things out. The guest room is still yours." I spent the next 6 months living in my ex-wife's guest room, slowly rebuilding my life. I found a small apartment, got a part-time job doing corporate training, tried to pretend that Thailand had never happened. But it had happened. And every day, I thought about Pria. I wondered if she was safe, if she'd found another way to solve her problems, if she hated me for abandoning her. I thought about writing to her. But what would I say? That I was sorry? That I loved her? That I'd been too weak to fight for her? All of those things were true, but they were also inadequate. I thought about going back, but I knew that was impossible. Even if the loan sharks had moved on to other victims, even if Pria forgave me, I could never trust myself in that situation again. I'd proven that when things got difficult, I ran away. So I stayed in Virginia, living a smaller life than I'd had before, but a safer one. I didn't date, didn't travel, didn't take risks. I went to work, came home, watched television, and tried not to think about what I'd lost. It was almost a year later that I got the message, a Facebook message from an account I didn't recognize, written in broken English but unmistakably from her. "Mitchell, I hope you are safe. I hope you are happy. I want you to know that I am okay. I found a way to solve my problems. I am working in Bangkok now, singing in a hotel. I have small apartment, enough money to live. I am not angry with you for leaving. I understand why you had to go. I hope someday you can forgive yourself for choosing to survive. Love. Pria. I stared at the message for a long time, reading it over and over. She was alive. She was safe. She didn't hate me. It was more than I dared to hope for. I started to write back, but I couldn't find the words. What could I say that wouldn't sound like an excuse? What could I offer that would make up for abandoning her when she needed me most? In the end, I didn't write back. I saved the message, read it whenever I felt particularly sorry for myself, and tried to move on with my life. But moving on, I was learning, was easier said than done. I'd had a taste of paradise, and now everything else seemed grey and lifeless by comparison. I'd had a taste of love, and now I couldn't imagine opening my heart to anyone else. I was stuck between two worlds, the safe, predictable world of suburban Virginia and the dangerous, intoxicating world of Thailand. I couldn't go back to the latter, but I couldn't fully embrace the former. So I existed in limbo, neither happy nor miserable, neither alive nor dead. I was a man who tried to change his life and failed, a man who tried to save someone he loved and failed at that too, but I was also a man who'd survived, who'd recognized when a situation was beyond his control and had the courage to walk away, who'd chosen self-preservation over self-destruction, even when it meant breaking his own heart. Maybe that was enough. Maybe survival was its own kind of success. As I write this, 2 years later, I'm still in Virginia, still living a small, safe life, still thinking about Thailand, about Pria, about the man I might have been if I'd been braver or stronger or smarter. But I'm also alive. I'm financially stable. I'm not looking over my shoulder, waiting for threats that might never come. I'm not trapped in a cycle of extortion and fear. I learned that paradise always comes with a price, that love and need can become confused until you can't tell the difference, that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit you're in over your head and find a way out. I learned that I'm not the hero of my own story. I'm just a middle-aged man who made some bad choices, fell in love with the wrong person at the wrong time, and had to choose between his heart and his survival. I chose survival, and some days, I'm okay with that choice. Some days, I even think it was the right choice. But on the hard days, when the Virginia winter is cold and grey and endless, I think about warm nights in Chiang Mai, about a beautiful woman with a voice like silk, about the man I might have been if I'd been brave enough to stay and fight. I think about paradise and the price I paid to escape it. And I wonder if maybe, just maybe, some prices are worth paying after all. But then I remember the fear, the threats, the moment I realized I was trapped in someone else's nightmare. I remember the feeling of being hunted, of being used, of being slowly destroyed by people who saw me as nothing more than a source of money. And I'm grateful to be alive, to be safe, to be boring. Because boring is better than dead. Safety is better than paradise. And sometimes, love means knowing when to let go. That's my story. That's my confession. That's what I want other men to know before they make the same mistakes I did. Paradise exists, but it always comes with a price. And sometimes, that price is everything you thought you knew about yourself.